I really needed the lighting department or something for these videos. Anyway, welcome to another Music of the Month. This is for the month of February in the year 2019. And in contrast to January, we have quite a lot more albums to go over. So let's just not waste any time. Let's go over them from alphabetical order in terms of band. First one, a band called Astronaut with a self-titled second album. I stumbled across these guys from a YouTuber I like called The Rock Critic, because he did a review. Well, I didn't see the review, but I listened to the album, and I was actually quite surprised by it. It was a really nice sort of ethereal, sort of genty metal. Very, very, not really screams or breakdowns, but still really nice metal, you know, metal that you could just vibe to and sit back to. I really liked it. I would probably listen to this album again, even if it's a bit far off in the future. I still really liked it, though. I don't really have anything bad to say. Just solid, good, solid stuff. So yeah, I can recommend giving it a listen. Next is Beast in Black with their second album, From Hell With Love. I remember a friend of mine on the CWL Discord told me about Beast in Black when their debut on Berserker came out. Well, he told me about it, and it was a couple of months after their album came out, so I didn't listen to it in 2017, but in 2018, really liked that one, and no surprise, I really liked From Hell With Love too. For those unfamiliar with Beast in Black, they're a Finnish power metal band with a Swedish lead singer who sing about the Berserk manga and anime, which is... I'm not a huge anime fan, but I do like Berserk. So I really, really like this album. I like the concept that they carried. It went more into the manga, which I guess is fair because the anime doesn't really touch as much of the manga, and I know a lot of people are just confused as to what's going on, but listen to this album. It's really good power metal, heavy metal, really good references to the anime series, and it's just really fun to listen to because of the fantasy elements anyway that you would find within those genres. So yeah, even if you don't get what I'm on about, you probably will sort of get what I'm on about. But yeah, really like this album. Next is the first one that I think, in February, could possibly be in the top 10. Blood Youth with Starve. This is their second album too. Getting a lot of those in this. But yeah, like a hardcore punk band from the UK. Got to represent the UK. Sorry, my hair's all a mess. There we go. Yeah, Starve, their second album, really solid. I really, really enjoyed it thoroughly. I can't think of a lot of things wrong with it. Just, yeah, it was just really, really good. It had sort of a Cane Hill Too Far Gone vibe throughout the album. I really enjoyed it. I could recommend this one a lot more than I could the previous two, as much as I enjoyed them. By previous two, I mean previous two albums I just talked about, not previous Blood Youth albums, because I haven't listened to any others besides Starve. So I don't have a lot to go on, but I really liked Starve. I thought it was brilliant, actually. Really good, solid hardcore punk. Good mix of both. Next is Candlemass with The Door to Doom. Their first album in, I think since 2003. It's been their first album in quite a long time. And their first album with the lead singer that they started with too. The first album I've listened to by them. I think it's their 13th overall. They've done a lot of stuff. And in contrast to most doom metal bands that I'm aware of, these guys didn't really drag it on as much. There was like a weird fantasy concept, like sort of a horror, sort of a Lovecraftian weird horror thing. And, but yeah, it was actually quite enjoyable. I was following along with the story, I kept my head bopping along. I quite enjoyed it. I wouldn't call this one in my top 10, but, you know, it was solid, especially if you like doom metal that's a bit different to what you would normally find in doom metal. But yeah, I don't really have anything against it. That's usually my catchphrase with most albums I talk about music of the month. I don't have anything against it. But yeah, Candlemass The Door to Doom, enjoyable. Next is Crystal Lake with Helix. We're at about the halfway point. My first Crystal Lake album, I remember I discovered them by accident because I was looking up WWE highlights mostly the feud between Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. I don't remember the song. I know it's not on this album, but it was playing during a highlight video of the Street Fighter NXT TakeOver Chicago 2? It was either that or the Last Man Standing match at Brooklyn 4. Either way, yeah, there was a Crystal Lake song because I remember hearing it and, oh, I really enjoyed this, and then finding out that they were doing an album. And very technically, that album already came out in late 2017, but that came out in Japan. Me, being the smart boy that I am, waited for it to be released to more Western audiences in February, so suck it. But yeah, it's a really good example of what the Japanese are good at doing, which is awesomely produced music, really good metal, really good focused album as well. I like the gent elements, I like the electronic elements they employed. Really good experimental style, but still really heavy at the end of the day. And definitely worth your time, definitely worth listening. I quite liked it. Next is Le Butcherettes with Bimental. My first album by them, I think it's their fourth overall. They're a punk band from Mexico with a female lead singer. And I quite enjoyed this one, actually. Probably one of the more enjoyable, one of the more fun albums. Probably the most fun album of the year so far for me. I really liked it. I like the energy, I like the punk style. It reminded me a lot of an album that I missed last year, and that I only recently listened to this year, which is Idols, with Joy is an Act of Resistance. Joy is an Act of Resistance, the album name, I almost got that mixed up. But yeah, that album, Bimental by Le Butcherettes, reminded me a lot of that, and that's a really good thing, because that album in particular is really good, so is this one. I enjoyed it. I'd recommend seeking it and finding it. And speaking of punk, we're going to go over to From Mexico to Sweden with Millencolin and their new album SOS, my first Millencolin album. Really solid, straightforward punk. I quite like a good straightforward punk album. Really fast-paced, really catchy, really enjoyable. I got some old school sort of Pennywise vibes from it. So, yeah, I really liked it. Once again, don't have anything against it. I would recommend probably listening to it again. Next is One OK Rock with Eye of the Storm. We've only got a few more, I swear. One OK Rock with Eye of the Storm. This is probably my least favourite of the month. I listened to their last album, and they had some pop elements that they still mixed up with some really good Japanese rock. They didn't really do that for this one. They basically showed up and said, yeah, you know how we have guitars, we're just not going to play them for this album? I'm just sort of like, why? It was a boring it's just a boring pop rock album. I really didn't like this one at all. I wish I could have enjoyed it more. It's not that I have anything against pop rock, as we'll discover in the album I'm going to talk about after this one. But yeah, I just really didn't like Eye of the Storm. It just didn't work for me. Not a lot of it caught on. I did like how they mixed in the English singing with the Japanese singing. I just wish it was a rock album and not this sort of weird pop thing. I wish we got more out of it, really. And for such a short album, it does kind of drag on. But enough criticism. But yeah, probably my least favourite album of February. And next is Set It Off with Midnight. And in contrast to One OK Rock, I really like Midnight. I consider it sort of a darker pop album, sort of in the rock vibe, though, in the vibe that Set It Off are known for doing, because they have a very underrated style. I really like what they do. Even if I didn't fully appreciate it at first on Upside Down, they really tightened up the screws for Midnight. I really liked it. I like the darker tone that they took, which I feel like was one of the things missing from Upside Down, and that feels bad to say because I like it when a band's happy, but Set It Off benefit from being a bit darker and a bit weirder, so I really enjoyed that. I really like Midnight. I think besides Star from Blood Youth, this is an album that could wind up in the top 10, possibly. I really liked it. I don't have a lot of complaints, just really catchy, really dark, really went to a lot of really nice places. Really, like I said, really a lot more times over, I'm not gonna. But yeah, quite enjoyable. And now the last album, Traitors with Repent. This one is the most recent album on the list, so it came out on Monday, the 25th. And I thought it was okay. I wasn't as big on this one as I was a few other albums I've talked about. I remember I first came across Traitors in 2018, and they were going to release something then, but it turns out that was an EP, so I didn't listen to it. I heard a couple of songs by them at that point, but never listened to the full EP. So going into Repent, I didn't know what to expect, but I actually quite liked it. I thought it was solid. I think they're British. I thought it was solid metalcore, leaning into death metal a little bit. So it is leaning into a heavier style, which I'm getting more used to as I age, like a fine wine. But yeah, I thought this album was it was good. It wasn't great. I would definitely rank it above Eye of the Storm by One OK Rock, though, definitely. But yeah, this album, it still shows a lot of room for improvement from a band. I think this is their third full album or second full album. I don't fully know that. I just know it's not their first, so yeah, I feel like the band has a lot of room to grow. And the album was kind of short as well, only 9 tracks long. And 2 of those tracks, one is an intro and one's an interlude. And most of the songs really aren't super duper long. It only really gets interesting on the last track too. But you know, if they can learn from that, if they can pick it up a little bit and mix it up a lot more, then I have a lot more faith for where the band could go. So yeah, all in all, February, it was more of a, once again, like January, a mixed bag, but mostly positive stuff. I can highly recommend pretty much everything except for Repent by Traitors, maybe, that I can still sort of recommend it, and Overstored by One Ok Rock, I wouldn't really recommend. But yeah, like the rest were all really enjoyable, especially stuff by Blood Youth, Millen Collins, Set It Off, Astronoid. A lot of really good metal in February. So yeah, well, I say really good metal and Set It Off, it was a pop rock sort of thing. But yeah, all in all, I quite liked it. So I don't really have a lot else to say. I'll see you all on Sunday for the next Fight of the Night review, if there is one, which is why there wasn't one last week, because there wasn't a Fight of the Night. I don't do it if there's not one available. Rules. Smart boy me. And I'll see you all on Sunday. Thank you for watching, you're awesome, bye bye.